Thank you. Not that I need it. I've got scotch. I'll be fine. Uh, I'm here to talk about 360 content, personalized content everywhere. I'm Dennis Augustine. I'm a five-time Sitecore MVP and a partner at Conabos Consulting with Cameron and Akshay, who I've mentioned before as well. Uh, yeah, 360 content everywhere. What is that all about? Uh, some time ago, you will have perhaps noticed Gartner start talking about composable DXP and Jamstack DXP. These have been really fun buzzwords floating around the industry. Uh, Gartner mentioned, they said by 2023, organizations that have adopted an intelligent, composable approach will outpace competitors in the speed of new feature implementation. That's quite a prediction by Gartner, and it's one of the reasons why I think that the marketplace has been changing so much. We've seen really a shift afoot, and I'm sure all of you have noticed in the marketplace, and it's something that Sitecore right now is also really noticed and gotten on board with, and that's why I'm so happy to be talking about this subject matter here today. So we can use those terms interchangeably. It'll be composable DXP or Jamstack DXP. But why? What are the advantages of that? It's essentially taking all of the best of breed building blocks for a particular business functionality and using that rather than taking more of a monolithic approach, which is, well, when I did that upgrade 13 years ago, that's what I was dealing with. We were dealing with XP at that time, or actually it was called something else, I'm sure, at that time, and the monolith was supposed to do everything. Right now, the marketplace is shifting towards a more composable or a building block sort of based approach. So what's happening is that we're picking best of breed for any particular use, and that has certain advantages. Certainly the freedom to swap out any of those building blocks at any particular time is an important one. That goes back to the other point that's below the next vendor, which makes you avoid vendor lock, and also gives you much more agility with regards to what you're able to do with your business. Gartner calls it composable business capabilities, which really means that, if you have, for example, product management or marketing automation, or you have an ERP, all these enterprise capabilities are kind of packaged up. And actually should say packaged business capabilities, actually is what that really should say. Another advantage of that, of course, well, I mentioned the vendor lock aspect, and that's an interesting thing. I wonder how we're going to tackle that in the Sitecore space. I know that one of the things that has been keeping a lot of customers there with us has been they've been very much bought into the platform, and it's an all-in-one platform. It has been for many years. But right now we're moving into more of this composable space where somebody could buy, a CMP, a box ever, a order cloud for just the e-commerce side of things. You could buy a CMP and something just to do all of that personalization. So now we have the ability for customers to be able to choose what they want. I think that's going to really pose a challenge for all of us on the technology vendor side, but also it poses a challenge for us on the partner side and the implementer side, because we can be swapped out much easier too. And that's something I think is really going to elevate the level of, or the need rather, for everybody to raise their game a little bit, to raise their skill set, so that we can really compete in this more open marketplace. Another advantage, of course, fast, scalable, secure, globally distributed websites, globally distributed experiences via this Jamstack approach, because a lot of these are delivered via things like Vercel and Netlify, globally distributed CDNs. They are static sites, so they are natively very secure, super fast, and very scalable in their approach. Now, there's a lot of vendors in the game, but we've seen Sitecore making this move as of late, and I really got to say that I couldn't be happier. I haven't seen Akshay so happy in many years, or so many excited in so long about something like the whole Jamstack approach, the whole Jamstack space. And I think it's really exciting for us that Sitecore has shown some signs of making that move at this time as well. So we've got, what do we have now in the Sitecore tool set to choose from? Of course, we have Sitecore Content Hub, Sitecore Content Hub, Box Ever, for that personalization, that CDP, and I've been checking that out. I'm going to encourage you to check out Rick and Rich's session a little bit later on, or nearer to the end of this. Content Hubby and friend will be doing a session on Box Ever and Content Hub, and I'm going to take a slightly different approach in mine, but I want to encourage you to just check out that one. 451 for commerce and headless commerce, and of course, if you're in the XM XP world, you have options right now with JSS and Experience Edge for XM, which is on the horizon for you as well. Musend, a new member of the family, and it's nice to see you here joining us for that marketing automation. So we've got a lot of options in the Sitecore space, and it is indeed an exciting time for Sitecore and the headless approach. But by far, I think for me, the most exciting product has been what used to be Style Labs, Sitecore Content Hub. And as of late, the Sitecore Content Hub Experience Edge that's coming out has been very exciting. That's what we're going to center this conversation around today. I want to touch a little bit on why I think it's so important. We bought Sitecore, and we were working in this space because things like personalization really work. But 80% of marketers don't even personalize. And that's something that's not from me, it's from VentureBeat that came out with that somewhere in 2021. And I believe that it's due in a large part because of the rigidity of the platforms, because of the long implementation cycles. And when I took on that upgrade exercise, I thought it was going to be quick and easy. All that's 13 years ago. It was a longer and painful process. That was very complex. It required a very specialized skill set, and that's why a lot of us have jobs today, because of the complexity of the skills that we need to have to be able to service the monoliths that we deal with. But there's also another reason why it's really hard, because of the inability to deliver content at scale. If you're going to personalize for a number of different channels, a number of different personas, possibly many different brands in your organization, you need content to service each and every one of these dots along your grid, along that matrix. And so you have to be able to produce a great deal of content at scale, and to be able to organize that in a way that really helps to drive your personalization strategy. Of course, that we'll do it in phase 2. Excuse has always been there as well, and I got to say that on that one, personalization, I will say, is not a phase. I want to encourage everybody out there, if you hear customers say they'll do personalization in phase 2, just try to disabuse them of that sort of a viewpoint, because personalization is not a phase. It is an ongoing activity that we really should take on as an operational activity as we go throughout. It's really how digital customer experience is done. It's part of the entire operational life cycle of our customer experience. But how do we avoid this phase 2 trap? I really think that the way to do that is to, one, take a composable DXP approach for a number of the reasons that Gartner said before, and that's going to get you out of a lot of these long and painful upgrade cycles. A lot of these platforms, most of the ones we just showed on that previous slide for Sitecore, are SaaS based, so they're software as a service. And that means that you don't have to do an upgrade. You get the upgrades when they're rolled out by the vendor. That eliminates, to a large degree, a number of the upgrade cycles. Of course, your downstream systems will have to adjust for those different changing interfaces and APIs, but the change cycles are going to be a lot quicker, and certainly the pain will be a lot less. So composable DXP really helps us to avoid a lot of that. And what else do we do to avoid this phase two trap? Really gain the ability to be able to deliver content at scale. And again, that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about Sitecore Content Hub. One of my favorite Sitecore products of all time. The jury's still out on the others. We'll see how they perform going ahead. You've probably seen this slide if you have kept abreast of Content Hub, really then just showing a lot of how the capabilities align with the various channels on the right here and the various sorts of business capabilities on the left. So being able to tie all those pieces in, aggregate the information from your ERPs, from your CDPs, from your various agencies, your legacy information, and then plan, collaborate, and publish that to the channels on the right. And that is really enabling us to solve what Sitecore has been calling the content crisis. Here we have, and I probably will not spend a lot of time on this slide as well, but again, really all of the various kind of capabilities, channels, and the ability to publish and aggregate content right across in an omni-channel way across a number of channels is one of the exciting parts about Sitecore Content Hub. And oh, you know what? Enough of that. Why don't we just get right into a demo, and I'll show you what I've been working on furiously over the last few days. Let me take this off of the slideshow. Go. And you should be seeing, oh, you see some code. Don't worry, I won't bore you with that. First of all, I want to make sure I give a shout out and some credit where credit is due to Mr. Akshay Sura over at Konobo. So this demo that you're going to see is based upon Akshay's very excellent Next.js or starter kit or GraphQL and Next.js starter kit for Sitecore Content Hub. You can find that on the Konobo's website. Just search for content as a service there, and you'll find this very great article. There's a video. It goes into a little bit of detail on how things were implemented. So I'm going to try not to really touch on these, and I'll let you have a look at that. You will also find on our site another item that I'm building upon in this demo, which is the personalization aspect of it. In this one, we're going to be using Uniform, and many of you will know Patrick and Lars and the team over there at Uniform because they've been part of the Sitecore community, and they are as well Sitecore TAP partners, I believe, at this time. Now, I'm also looking very much forward to the box ever personalization. But I didn't want to duplicate what Rick and Rich will be doing a little bit later on. So I'm going to be watching that in the morning, thankfully, with some anticipation as well. But go through this article as well on our site. So again, it talks about the personalization, and it will give you a little bit more detail into how the things that I'm going to show you were done. I'm not going to pretend to do a technical demo or much of one. I will take you through some of the technical building blocks for the new things that I've added to this demo. But for the core of how this particular, the personalization with Uniform works with the statically generated site that I'm going to show you, please do check out konobos.com, and you will look for personalized Sitecore Experience Edge using Content Hub. Okay. Cheers. Let's get into it. Content Hub. Again, not going to give you a tour of Content Hub per se. I'm going to really, again, encourage you to check out a lot of Content Hubby's excellent videos and kind of overviews of that on the Learn Sitecore channels and so forth. There's also a lot of great information about Content Hub and how it works. But what I will highlight, and this is really about personalized content, which is more of a strategy thing as well, I'm going to really get into and focus on some of these elements here in the content and work, and then talk about how we can kind of extend some of that. I'm going to go right into a campaign, which is, often when we're starting out our digital strategies, we are really talking about campaigns to promote certain products, campaigns to promote services, campaigns targeting certain demographics, and so forth. I've got a couple campaigns which I've started off with some of the out-of-the-box. These are some of the out-of-the-box Content Hub content that you'll see all over the place as well. Got one campaign which you'll see in your Content Hub demo environment, which is the summer of 2018 campaign. I've also added one here for SUGCON. I'm going to jump right into the SUGCON one that I've created. And you will see in SUGCON, I've created a couple new content types in CMP. And how I've went and done that, I'll give you a little bit of a preview of that as well. We're adding a lot more flexibility to the data modeling capabilities in Sitecore Content Hub, which makes it an exciting possibility for omni-channel content across a number of different channels in kind of a more structured way. So this should be hitting the hitting channels very soon as well. What we've done is I've created a new content type called a tweet. There you go. So you can do that by just adding your own content type. I won't add a new one here, but then you add certain members to your content type, various text or multi-line sort of fields. I've kept this very simple. Text, a field here in the future which I'll be using to tag images automatically, and a ID. This ID field is being used to tie the tweets that get generated from the campaign back to Twitter, and then using the Twitter API to get activity from Twitter back into Content Hub. And why would we want to do that? I'll go right back to this campaign here, and you'll see that there's something called impact for campaigns. And I think that this is probably one of the most exciting things in the platform. And why is that? Because, overall, what I can do now by having impact on my content and being able to tie that to real world data is to understand what content and which campaigns are being most effective in engaging with our customers. And that, of course, is the heart of any omni-channel strategy, understanding what's working and what's not. As you know, the rule goes about 20% of our content or 20% of our effort leads to about 80% of that real value for us. So wouldn't it be good to know what's working, what's connecting with our customers in real time? And that's what we've kind of done in this demo. I've added a couple tweets to this demo. I'm going to revisit the one that I created for the 360 content demo. And here I have, and you can check this out in real time. This is Twitter 360 content demo is the handle. And I already have one instance of this tweet posted. And it got posted right from within Content Hub. It created a new one. And I'm going to actually just right now click Start Over. And I'm going to create a new, I'm going to modify this. Or rather, let's do something else. Let's just do a brand new tweet within this campaign. Now you could have all kinds of content within your campaign. It's going to be web pages, and I'll show you some content that populates that site that I showed you earlier. But here for this, in this case, I'm going to create a new tweet. Select the type here and save it. So here we have our SUGCON tweet. Let's give it some text. And let's save that and add an image. I'm just going to pick one of the existing images. Oh, there's somebody drinking. I'm drinking, so cheers to him as well. I don't know what that's about. That's something for somebody else to deal with. Going to believe that has been saved. I'm going to send it for review. This data has been applied successfully. Let's just reload this just to make sure any of those errors didn't affect our upload of images or the attaching of the image, just to be sure. Yeah, it looks good. And I'm going to approve this. Now that state has been successfully applied. And what's happening in the background right now, I'm going to go over to here. I'll show you a little bit about how this is working. And here, actually, I'll just pull this slide up for you. In the meantime, it's actually already gone live, but I want to get you to see what's involved here. There we go. Yeah, so what we're going to see at work here is Content Hub posting the tweet to Twitter. We're then going to have the Twitter API connecting via a webhook. So that's the Twitter API with let's get my highlighter. Twitter API calls a webhook, an Azure Function webhook, which in turn is just a little jumping off spot to hit Power Automate. And I chose Microsoft Power Automate because it's a low code, low or no code sort of a automation tool, which a lot of marketers might find to be a more friendly way of doing a lot of interesting things that you can do. I've just used it in this case to then call back to Sitecore Content Hub, and then we can update the activity from Twitter into Content Hub, and that tweet probably might have been posted already. And so if you're going to follow 360 Content more, you just click that tweet and like it. We'll see some action in Content Hub soon for that. Content Hub is publishing as well to not only to Twitter, but to the Next.js based site that we have hosted on Vercel. which actually his demo speaks of as well. And I will go back here, refresh this page. Wait, did we approve this? I think I've done this correctly. Let me just go over here. This is the Microsoft Power Apps, and this is the method that is getting called to, oh, we have a failure. There we go. That's what we get for doing things live. File relative URL. This file probably was not published yet. Rather than going through that and trying to publish it, I'm going to pick one that I know has been published to the public. Let's go back over here and do this one again. Start over. Okay, good. Remove content. Doesn't seem to want to go away. Add an existing. We do know that this fruitful stuff has been published, so I'm going to pick that. Send for review. Approve. And what we should see in Power Automate, yes, just running 2 seconds ago, is a job that, oh, and this one did run successfully because the item has been published. A job that essentially is listening to, so it's a hook that's listening to Sitecore Content Hub. It receives a request from there, just sending some JSON over, just basically saying, hey, something's been published, a tweet's been ready to go. They parse the body, pull some fields from that data, and then make a request out here to get, make a request to actually get the details of that item. Parse that to receive some important variables like, the address of the file, which was what it couldn't find the last time. Add that file to our Azure Blob storage, and this is all stuff that I've actually just done with existing Power Automate steps. It's not code that I've written. It's just a configuration of Power Automate steps, and then using again another Power Automate step to post the tweet. Once the tweet is posted, we are authenticating against Content Hub and getting back the ID of the tweet, and then lastly just cleaning up by deleting the file from the blob storage. Now I'll have to, when I do post this on our website and the blog later on, I will have to credit somebody from Sitecore actually who had done a lot of these Power Automate steps. Neglected to do so right now, so my apologies, but I will credit some of those to that individual a little bit later on. And, oh, well, there we go. There you go, I am doing the demo. Oh, so we've got somebody who's already liked. Well, thank you. Thanks, JF. Appreciate that. And let's see what happens when, because of JF's like on my SUGCON tweet. And Actually, I should have probably noted for you the value here was before, I think it was some 270 or something like that, or just under 270, 260. And we've increased or upped the impact score on this because of the activity that we've seen here. And I'll show that live as well. I'm going to just click this, copy, make sure I copy that URL. I'll switch accounts to my Sitecore Dentist account. And then go back to the tweet. Well, thank you, Rachna. Appreciate that. And so I'll like it, and I'll retweet that as well. What happens when I like and retweet these is that the Twitter API, and Twitter API actually, by the way, is free. So for most of the basic usages, so you just have to put the intent of why you're using it, make sure that you have to swear that you're not going to use it inappropriately, and all of those really important things. And then you'll get access, you'll get an API key and access to Dev Twitter. And you will set up, what I've done here is I've just put a Azure, I put an Azure function in place to listen for the Twitter API, just to make sure it can send its authentication, say to Twitter, yes, I'm here. I send it a secret key to make sure it really knows that we own the endpoint. And then we're ready to receive that, and it calls another method that invokes our Power Apps. And I'll just go back to the Power Apps that recorded the impact score on the tweet. So that was here. And actually, just let's see if we'll do something live. And I think it's, right now we're at 271. And what happens in Power Automate when you should probably, 3 seconds ago, it was actually super fast. I think that was, yeah, super fast. Yeah, the Azure endpoint hit my Power Automate function. It receives the request, parses the JSON, really starts to initialize a couple parameters, so which we're not going to show you, username and passwords and stuff like that. Authenticates against Content Hub, and then does a request to go and find out what content item has that specific tweet ID. So I think that is actually, this is probably the same tweet. Just pull out that. Well, that was the endpoints rather. What I want is the tweet ID. Oh, there's that tweet. That's the URL. Oh yeah, 82. That was a different one. That was the earlier one there. Yeah, that was for this one. Isn't that interesting? That was a retweet that Rachna did that actually triggered that one as well. So it goes through and gets that content, parses the JSON, and then for each of the responses that it has in its response set, it will call another endpoint, which essentially does the stuff that I've got here. In Postman, because we looked up the tweet ID, and then we actually go and update the impact. So we update the impact score of the item. And when we get back to Content Hub, because we've done that, the tweet itself, its impact has been updated, and you'll see actually it's previously it got updated, and so it also got republished to the edge at the same time. And we've gone from 271 in our campaign to, oh, our campaign's rocking, 475 now. Got some good activity going on. So you guys have been hitting that endpoint. Really appreciate that. So that's a little in a nutshell there what's happening. So that's part of like the one way that we can publish some of that stuff. So we're getting it from Content Hub in our campaign. And you could have a campaign right now. I mean, campaigns are really great tools. I mean, so if you're doing, you get in there, working in Content Hub as a strategist is so much fun when you're talking about content strategy. You'll be able to look at what channels and what personas rather, or segments am I going to be marketing to? What channels will I be pushing it out to? Because I created this new tweet type, now there is a tweet content type also that can act as one of these axes for my strategy. So that's automatically added to that by Content Hub. I can go into a calendar view if I'm planning a campaign that perhaps spans a number of months. I can make sure that I've got all of the right pieces in there, and you'll see that my 360 content strategy one was part of that. There's a capability in Content Hub so that I could, schedule a lot of this publishing and automate so many of these things through a combination of Content Hub and really simple low and no code tools like Power Automate as well. So lots of power to really kind of to help you solve that content crisis in a very in a low effort sort of a way. And I couldn't, like I said, could not be happier with any Sitecore product other than this one. So really encourage you to learn as much as you can about that. One other aspect, now we did mention that we were also going to, and I'll go back to campaigns. Remember the starter site, right? Now there is a live demo site that's available here as well. It's all stuff that runs off of Next.js, and actually has got a really great starter kit that you can download from the Git repo that's referenced on the site here. So there is a Git repo, and you can pull down the site and create your own. I've got a local one running as well. We've integrated this one with this one has been integrated with both Content Hub and with Uniform for personalization. So let's just go over to this site, and like I said, check out the blog post. You'll be able to access this site and this URL as well. I'm just going to enter preview mode on this because what I've done is we've essentially just made sure that it's accessing just the preview stuff, not the published things here. We've got a number of things going on in the background, so we're going to activate preview mode on this particular demo use case. So when I've already cleared my cookies, I believe, so I'm going to make sure I do that again just to make sure. Because we are using Uniform, you'll see that there's not actually a third-party cookie here. Isn't it interesting? So, I mean, it's not, sorry, not any of the Uniform categorized ones here directly, but what you do have here is some local storage as well, and there's Uniform uses privacy by default, which is kind of really cool thing. So there's local storage for a lot of these personalization settings and so forth. I'm just going to delete those things so that we know that it's all nice and clear. And you'll see that even the preview mode disappeared. And here I am with just the native functionality of the site. This is the home page. Going back to Content Hub, I've already set this one up ahead of time, just in the interest of time. I think I'm actually doing quite well. It's only about 17 minutes in, so pardon me. You can see here I've actually set up another tweet, which is currently in progress. Using that same image, by the way. Sorry to bore you for the images, but yeah, I'm just using that same image. And this image has a link. We have a link here, which has a campaign code for that. So let's say we're doing an omni-channel campaign. Part of the campaign is, I've got things in my campaign that are web pages, or content that's going to get published to the web page rather. We've got content that's going to go out to this new content type that I've created, Twitter. We've got things that might go out in email and so forth. Well, I could attach campaign codes to these to the various items, and that will enable me to loop things back into to be able to analyze what the effectiveness of my campaign. And in the next phase of this demo, I'll also be pushing back that campaign analytics via Google Analytics to the content as well, which is going to be very exciting. We've got to be careful how we do that from a performance perspective. We don't want to be, machine gunning Content Hub and the API. We really want to make sure we batch those things up. So that'll be coming up soon. But here's that campaign UTM. I think I've already published this one, but I'm going to do it again. And actually just take it through another round of that. And you'll see again that it's going to do the same thing with the Power Automate flow. It's probably already live. And that's another instance of the tweet that was just published 20 some odd seconds ago with the link and the link with the UTM code. So if I click on this now, well, remember that we had a different, as soon as we got here, you saw what just happened. That code triggered a different sort of a look of that homepage. I still have the old one here. Oops. Not in preview mode. Now it's going to, that's going to switch. Hope you caught that. Because what happened on the backside, the uniform code knew about the personalization settings that got published from uniform, and that has been encapsulated in a manifest within a manifest of intents within my site, which gets automatically updated and published and actually can be published automatically, but we've just done it here throughout, a little bit of a command that says to update the intents, managed in uniform. And in uniform, shout out to Lars and Company for this really powerful tool. I have the ability to set up a number of different intents, and the one that triggered this campaign was the Fruitful Lemonade campaign code, and you'll see that I gave it that name, and this UTM lemonade was the thing that gave it that trigger to give that intent so high, and then to personalize the page. As I click through the site, if I got to go a few times to certain pages, sometimes you see that personalization intent on the Fruitful Lemonade is up at 100. And we have other intents that were less powerful. And I think the one that we just switched to was this chocolate bar one, or these bars, snack bars, and they were set at 50. I actually had to go back a couple times before I personalized the homepage to change it to the chocolate bar intent. Things like this granola, I think, are about equal in terms of their thing. So I've got a few clicks. Anyways, as you go through, it will continue to change. I go back, keep going back to the home page. Uniform will continue to personalize that. And what we could do as well, and then this is something that we have not yet implemented, and I'm actually going to perhaps just pause here. I think that's really kind of showing round trip, everything that's sort of involved at this time that I wanted to show you. I don't think I have missed too much. Again, I really would encourage you to have a look at actually his demo where they go a little bit more into depth in how we do the technical implementation of that, and I'll leave technical implementation to the pros. Had a hell of a time just getting the intent, or it's rather the impact to update. So I think I'll rely on my team to help me with a lot of the other things that are coming ahead. But for now, let's get back to perhaps a little bit of what might be next. I've called for a Scotch refill. So what's next for this 360 personalization? Well, I again, Box Ever, that's coming up this a little bit later on, so in the morning, in the evening for you guys out in the Eastern Hemisphere. But I'd love to get Box Ever integrated into something like this and kind of do the whole 360 all around there. Most definitely, I'm very much interested in getting Google Analytics round-tripped back into Sitecore Content Hub. We're going to continue to use tools like Uniform, Next.js, Lucent and Box Ever, all of the same patterns that we've been talking about, whether it be done by a particular developer or in low and no code ways like Power Automate and Azure Functions. There's really no end of the ways that we can tie these things together to give us really powerful and, as you saw, real-time kind of intelligence as to what our audiences are doing and giving them real-time, super fast feedback as well. So integrating with other social channels, I just used the Twitter API on this one. We're going to be adding, LinkedIn and Facebook and etc. Of course, Google Analytics and the other stuff. And I really want to hear from other technologists and from strategists as well as to best practices for doing that. We're really in uncharted territory here. I mean, what should be the upper limit of some of these impact scores? How will we appropriately kind of analyze these things in aggregate? And then what do you do in terms of optimizing your omni-channel strategy based upon that sort of information? And again, how do we then use that information to change our content strategy and our content targeting? These are all things that we want to have discussions about. So I do want very much to get your input in the days and weeks and months ahead. I'm going to be really focused on Content Hub over the next little while and very much encourage you to reach out to us. I am on Twitter as Sitecore Dennis and Slack, just Dennis Augustine. So please do reach out to me there. And speaking of, by the way, well, actually, that's strategy lunch. This one is for the Toronto user group. We're also going to be having Rich Rick and Rich a little bit later on, as well on the Toronto Sitecore user group. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. So I'd love to have, I hope that you guys will join us out for that as well. But keep in contact with me. Reach out to me if you really want to get involved in doing some more exciting things for Content Hub. Probably what I'll do is send something out via the strategy channel on Slack, a little bit of an invite for anybody who wants to contribute. We'll have a GitHub repo that we can all feed into so that you can leverage a lot of this stuff and build on it, integrating all of these social channels, integrating the Google Analytics, integrating the other Sitecore products that we are so excited about as well. I know that I am very much under time, but I hope that there's going to be some questions that we could field, perhaps some conversation about what we can do about this, and perhaps some conversation about the future of Sitecore and this whole headless direction as well. Questions for Dennis, please? Yes, please post them in the chat.
Awesome, thanks, Dennis.
There is one, which is, what is your favorite donut from Tim Hortons?
What's my favorite? So you guys know me, I'm Canadian. Yeah, so I definitely am. If I was a real Canadian, I have a favorite donut. So it's I've got to say it's a Boston cream, which is funny because it's not really a very Canadian name for a donut, is it? But I love me the Boston creams because they're filled with creamy goodness. And squeeze them and
Looks like Jim likes something called Timbits.
Oh yeah, well there are Timbits are fun. Yeah, so that's Timbits are this little, like the holes in the donuts. It's like you tell the kids that they punch the holes out, and that becomes a Timbit.
Okay.
But they're little balls. Yeah, and you get a whole box of them, and you can just pop them. Yeah, you can just shove them in your face and get big. That's all right.
Sounds good. Now, what do we got?
Brucey Goosey. Goosey, what's up? What's up, friend?
I'm still having camera issues. Oh, look, I'm back.
Oh, wow.
Man, technology, it boils me. Whew.
Man, you look at your digs, man. You are living the life. We paying you too much. We paying you too much, man. That's what we're doing, man.
It's a virtual reality.
Yeah. Yeah, you're getting paid too much. Look at that. I got the Conobos fan club there too. They're just saying they're all giving the virtual waves. I love that.
The team there, yeah. Well, it's fantastic.
In the US, they are called munchkins. How about that? The Timbits are called munchkins in the US, apparently. Who would have known that?
No, I wouldn't have known that.
It doesn't seem right to eat munchkins, though, I gotta tell you.
Oompa Loompas, though, they're okay.
It seems kind of ogreish, to be quite honest, Yes. Coming up next, Supercharger Development Experience in Sitecore. Ishrak. Oh, Ishrak is a star.
She so is.
Isn't she?
Yeah.
You wanna take over the hosting, Dennis? You got a bit of a radio voice going there, mate.
Do I? Okay. I haven't even got I didn't even pull out my mic for that occasion.
It's the Scotch. It gives you the.
It's the Scotch. The Scotch does it. Yeah.
Scotchy Scotch.
No, I'm normally full of it, but when I'm sleep deprived and full of Scotch, it's even more so. So there you go. Now
Thanks for that.
Thank you very much.
So I do a radio show, and the radio voice is generally, a couple of octaves lower. So it's like, hi, I'm Dennis Augustine.
That's right. Yes.
So, just before you go, Dennis, do you have any Sitecore swag?
Do I have Sitecore swag?
Yes.
Well,
have you got something handy that you can just reach out and grab? We've been having this fun game which is show your swag.
Show my swag. Oh, can you pass me this thing here, love? What? No, the Sitecore thingy. I got me these thing from. It's a little. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it exactly, but it's a stickery thing that I should have stuck on.
It's a fridge magnet.
Is it a magnet?
It's for the fridge. Yeah, stick up things on the fridge.
Okay. I've got me some Sitecore MVP trophies. How about that for swag? Biatches.
Yeah, maybe 5 of them, huh?
I got 5 of them.
We've got
like
from some.
I'm gonna tell hey Steve, I don't want a trophy. I want rings. I want MVP rings. Okay? MVP
Hey,
rings, Steve. Or maybe a belt buckle.
we're getting the wind up from our next hosts. Let's bring them on.
Okay.
Why
you're ruining my fun. Annie!
Yay! So,
Annie!
what would your DXP stack be if you had the choice? If you go, yeah, I'm going to build the beautiful DXP stack. What am I going to do?
Well, I'm not just kissing up when I say honestly. I would start me with some content hub from a marketing calendar and strategy perspective because it's very strategist friendly. You know, oh, there's Stevie. Steve, I want rings. Yeah.
Folks,
Dylan wants
we need to let the next speakers come on here. So hand it over to Annie. Thanks, Dennis.
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now is the time for solidarity in the face of this threat to all of humanity. I implore leaders to stand together and heed this appeal.